Amen. You may be seated. Come on, DJ, give it to me. Get into talking about invented sex/sex therapy, all right? And a lot of people won't reach this subject, especially in church, because they have their own preconceived ideas of what should be talked about in church, what shouldn't be talked about in church. But I believe that this is a necessary subject to talk about in church, and we're going to talk about some reasons why it's necessary to talk about it in church. Because, and one of the reasons is because when we don't talk about it, people still doing it, whether we talk about it or not. And so we need to talk about it in the proper context, because statistics show that at any given time of the day, 5,000 people are having sex. So if I say something right now, I wait 2 seconds later, 5,000 more people having sex. All right, so why not talk about it? All right, and then every day 200 million couples are having sex. Every day 200 million couples around the world have sex. Watch this. Some interesting facts. Sex is known to produce health benefits such as stress reduction, weight loss, increased immunity, and improve cardiovascular function. Now, I shared that fact last week, but as I did further research, it talked about how that particular statistic bears true more for those who are cohabitating or in lifelong relationships. It says that sex between people who are cohabitating lowers blood pressure, reduces stress, and improves self-esteem. Wow. Let's look at some other facts. We talked about this last week. Foods that can boost sex drive for those of you who are married. Is chocolate, caviar, whipped cream, almonds, bananas, avocados, and pepper. Now, parents, don't get ridiculous and tell your kids they can't eat no hot sauce and guacamole. Put that guacamole down. I know what you're doing. All right. You can burn up to 200 calories with 30 minutes of vigorous sex. Wow. Y'all relax. It's okay. All right. Endorphins released during sex can dull chronic back pain, arthritis, and migraine. All right. So if she says you got a headache, all right. Watch this. Sex is a natural antihistamine. All right. It can help to combat asthma and hay fever. Wow. Another interesting fact. Watch this. Up until 1884, a Victorian-era woman could be sent to prison for denying her husband sex. Brothers, y'all think we need to lobby some legislators so they can enact that law again? Wow. All right. Sexually active people suffer less heart attacks. All right. Check this out. This is an interesting one. The main reason that oral sex is increasing among teenagers is because it is perceived to be safer than intercourse. Wow. That's a trip. Okay. Now watch this. Watch the ramifications of that. Now, you know, we talked about how there are approximately 40 million people in the world who are living with AIDS. 40 million people. 50% of those diagnosed are women. 80% of the new HIV infections in women are a result of having sex with their husband or primary partner. That's a trip. 30% of the 20 million women diagnosed with HIV find out after their husbands are diagnosed. That's why we need to talk about it. Watch this. Even though there are 40 million people living with HIV, 10% of those cases were discovered in 2005 alone. That's 4.1 million cases discovered in 2005. Now check this out. You heard me say the statistic that oral sex is increasing among teenagers because they view it as safer than intercourse. But in 2005, 40% of the 4.1 million cases that were discovered were in young people ages 15 to 24. Right? I always think these two bear repeating. Is that sex is the #1 topic searched on the internet, and according to a survey by Playboy, more Americans lose their virginity in June than in any other month. We are in May, so as we go throughout the rest of May, we will talk about this. All right, so we want to talk about it, all right. Okay, let's talk about it. Once again, we talked about who invented sex. Okay, so it wasn't Trigger, it wasn't Usher, but it was who? Because in Genesis 1, verses 27 through 28, it said God told them to be fruitful and multiply. Told them to be fruitful and multiply, meaning go have babies. And so if he told them to go have babies, he told them to go do what? He told them to go have sex. All right? And then, watch this. At the end of Genesis chapter 1, in verse 31, it said that God looked at everything he made and said it was very good. Now, every other day, days 1 through 5, when he began to create, it wasn't until day 6, after he created everything, where he gave man the commandment to go have sex. It wasn't until then that he said, he looked at everything he made and said it was very good. So God thinks sex is good. Not only does God think sex is good, but God thinks sex is what?
Very good.
Is very good. Come on, say sex.
Sex
is very good.
Very good.
Can I get an amen?
Amen.
Can I get a right?
Right.
Can I get an already?
All right.
Sex is very good. All right. So sex was intended to be an unshameful experience, an encounter between a man and his wife. Man and his wife. All right? And anytime it's taken out of that context, we are not functioning according to the context that God created it for. Right? We talked about that last week. It's intended to be an awesome, stimulating experience meant for pleasure and procreation between a man and his wife. All right? It was after Adam messed up and he disobeyed God, because God told him, of every tree in the garden you can eat, but of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil you cannot eat, or else you would die. Adam did what God told him not to do, and then immediately his God-likeness died, because the reason God said be fruitful and multiply, because man was created in the image of God. We looked, operated, and functioned just like God. And then when we produced children, we were to produce people who were just like God. So we were to produce little G's, okay? And when man messed up, his God-likeness died. So he was no longer in the image of God. He was in the image of Lucifer, the one who caused him to mess up. And so now his God-likeness is dead. Immediately after Adam and his wife Eve messes up and disobeys God, the first thing affected was sexuality. Because in Genesis